Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music for the Week. As always, we got about 6 songs to go through, and I'm going to go through them as quick as I can manage, which might be fast, it might be slow, I don't know. Let's go. We begin with The Place to Bury Strangers and their newest album, Synthesizer. This is a sort of noise rocky, kind of indie alty thing, but mostly in the realm of noise rock and post-punky stuff. Again, this one a B minus. I felt like the instrumentation was pretty decent. I will admit that the thing that I think saves it the most is the production, mostly handled by. I think it's handled by the band's lead singer, which name I've got written here, Oliver Ackerman. I think he's the one who did it. I'm not really sure. But that's pretty good. I think Oliver is a pretty decent frontman as well. And yeah, all in all, solid stuff. I will say, the pacing does have a lot of weird things going for it. I do appreciate that they try to go with a more experimental route and they're actually using a synthesizer, but I feel like not enough of the songs are really interesting, and also there's a lot of just empty space, which is quite evident in the lyrics as well. There's a lot of repeated phrases, and there's not really much in terms of actual themes. And I think that they're on about stuff like heartbreak, but there's not really a lot, and they don't really feel like a factor. But the rest are mostly decent, and I think that any gripes I have about the album are balanced out by how well produced it is and how well performed it is. So I will give it its flowers. And for my first A Place to Bury Strangers album, I feel like I could have done worse. Also, weird that a band with such a metal-sounding name doesn't play metal. Just pointing that out. Next we have a band called Boa with their new album Whiplash, and this is kind of an interesting sort of case because this is technically the band's first album in 19 years, even though they did have two unreleased albums that came out. I think one was in 2010, the other was in 2017. This band has been around for a while as well. But despite that odd fact, this album gets the highest grade of the episode, which is an A minus. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was some really good London-based indie alt rock stuff. I really like the lead singer Jasmine Rogers. Her performance is so good. She's got a lot of charisma and puts a lot of power, a lot of dark power into her voice. I make it sound like she's a spellcaster or something. Really good stuff. Let me move my hair to the position it usually goes. Yeah, over my eye, thank you, Jesus. Really good stuff there. I like the lyrical themes of just trying to accept and balance the good with the bad, and all three members in the band are pretty good too. Yeah, really good production for the most part, handled by Chris Zane. Not sure who that is, but he brings out a lot in the sounds. Really good layering there. And yeah, solid riffs, solid writing as well, and solid pacing, I will say. I do feel like it does. A few songs do overstay their welcome, but yes, I'm totally scrambling to find stuff. Thank God I write these reviews on Discord. But solid stuff all in all. Really good bit of indie alt rocky shit. I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I thought it would, and I really wish I'd taken the opportunity to listen to it, back to it a bit more. But so my opinion on it might change, but as it is, really good. Next we go to Finland for Funeral, and their new album Gospel of Bones. It's just Funeral and their album Gospel of Bones, but I wanted to embellish in the joke a little bit. Sort of a doom metal thing. I'm giving this one, I think, the lowest grade of the episode, which is a C+. I liked enough elements of it. I felt like the atmosphere and the instrumentation was really good. I felt like the band performances were really good, especially the band's lead singer, Sindre Nederland. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Really deep and clean vocals, which I actually quite like, because doom metal usually has more, a sort of more screamy style. But also, god damn, it's over an hour long, and it's over an hour. It's an hour and 6.5 minutes ish, right? And oh god, it feels as long as it is. It really, really does. Yeah, it drags, and it doesn't do enough interesting stuff to really justify it. I guess the instrumental passages are a lot of fun, and again, I guess the atmosphere right and the band performance is really good, but also it feels like there should have been a concept focused on the theme of mourning, and production was just okay. I mean, I'll give you an example as I write here. The mix is really fantastic on making the vocals sound good, but the instrumentation suffers as a result, and I'm not really sure why. then why so much with this album that went wrong? Went wrong with what went wrong with the album? You know, as I can't really think of much else to say about it. It's got its moments, don't get me wrong, but like this is a band that's been around for a long time. I kind of expected better, even though this was my first album by them. I did expect a little bit better. I mean, the band basically have a genre named after them in Funeral Doom. That is the thing, and it was named after this band. So like, I don't know. They could have done better with it. I'm just saying, like, again, not completely terrible, but there's way too many tracking points. Way too slow of an album. Did not need to be as long as it is at all. Way too many long songs. There's nothing I can really say that isn't repeating myself. So I guess give it a listen if you want to give it a go. But probably the biggest skip I would say in this episode. In this episode for me. Next we have High Vis with Guided Tour. This is the third album by another band from London. Sort of a post-hardcore slash post-punky sort of band. I'm getting sort of B. I thought it was pretty solid. I like the sort of throwback style, which a lot of critics didn't like. They didn't like the more 80s post-punky vibe, but I know I quite liked it, and I think the hardcore sort of edge does give the riffs some good energy and some pretty solid bounce. I like the lyrical themes about class systems and isolation. I think the band are all pretty good too, especially I think he's the lead guitarist, Rob Hammerin. I almost said Hammerman. Hammerin. Really good stuff there. Maybe some riffs repeat, and while the production, it doesn't really seem to add a whole lot to the sound. It polishes things, but there needed to be fewer bells and whistles. I think this album would have really benefited from a more raw feel, and the pacing does start to lose itself a little bit around the halfway point of the album. I mean, it's got some decent flow, but it does tumble from time to time with that. And again, I feel like when it gets to the halfway point of the album, it does sort of feel that way. But my main thing about the album is not even like a negative thing. It's just a lot of critics didn't really like the throwback sort of post-punky style, and I didn't hate it. I thought it was quite good, you know. Do I wish it was more of a hardcore punk album because that's probably my favourite music genre? Yes. Do I care? Not really. Not as much as most professional critics do anyway. I enjoyed it for what it was, and maybe the band can do better. This is my first album by them and I didn't hate it as much as most people seem to. Next we have a final album, not the last album of the video, second last album, but it is the Japandroids, or just Japandroids, with their fourth and last ever album, as they've said, Fate and Alcohol, which I'm giving a B+. This is another album not a lot of people liked, but I enjoyed it. I felt like it was very earnest and a little bit cheesy maybe at times, but I just enjoyed it. It felt like a very sweet ending. Really good riffs, all in all, guitar hooks were quite nice. The band members, of which there's only two, Brian King and David Prowse. Prowse? I don't know if I'm saying either of that correctly. David, there we go. Really good stuff there. Really good production for the most part as well. I like the mix. I like the themes of just trying to balance joy and regret and how far things have gone in life, And I know, I guess, like, if I had any complaints, maybe the pacing, it does have a really good flow and it's carried by some really good hooks and some really solid mixing. But some of the songs feel misplaced and it feels like, again, around the halfway point, the band just sort of stopped, really, and some of the songs feel like they're in the wrong order. And, it feels like, as well, they wanted to tell a concept with it. I know I praised the lyrics, but it feels like they wanted to tell more of a concept with it, and they just didn't really lean into it that much, so I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought it was really, really good. And for the band's last album, it could have felt like more of a finale. That's the main complaint I've seen. Oh god, my hair. I've seen critics go on about, which I will agree with. It didn't really feel like a last album, And I guess it was because it was my first album by them, although I've heard of the band. Because you don't really forget a name like Japandroids, do you? Even though the band are Canadian. But I felt like it was a good last go, if it is their last go. Not a perfect one. It could have felt like it ended with more finality, but as it is, no real complaints. And finally, we have The Offspring with their new album Supercharged. It gets a B-. It's an Offspring album. That's kind of all I have to really say about it, but I'll try and think of something, because I have it sort of written. I will admit it's a lot better than Let the Bad Times Roll, but it's kind of hard to be worse than that one, although I don't know, I feel like I feel like the new album by The Voids is a lot worse than that, but that came out this year, and Let the Bad Times Roll came out in 2021. and it still sucked. I will say that there's like a sharpness and like faster pace to the riffs, which I really really like. And when the band lean more into their punk rock shit, they're really good at their punk rock shit. I like it when they mix in the pop punk melodies as well. Dexter still got a good voice to him, and he lets it show a little bit more. It sounded super short in the last album, but I don't know. It sounds a lot better here, and the band worked pretty well. And also, I guess the cover's nice, but again, this doesn't feel like anything the Offspring haven't done. The lyrics are typical fare about like celebrity culture and like shots at fame, and also memes. There's a song called "Come to Brazil." Fine, write a song about that. That's fair. The mixing isn't bad, and it shows that when Bob Rock tries, he's good. But it does feel like he just sort of barely lifts a finger at some points, but he does actually give it a good go here. And the pacing really loses interest after 3 songs. Literally, the best song on the album is The Fall Guy, which is the third song in. And then after that, it just sort of like stumbles through all of the other Offspring tropes for the pacing. But again, I liked enough of it. It just feels like an Offspring album. Not terrible, not great, but I hope that they continue to go from here. Though they can be good, they can do well when they want to, and this is a good example of that. So next is the official ranking system. At the bottom, I would have to go with Funeral with Gospel of Bones. Then probably A Place to Bury Strangers with Synthesizer, then The Offspring with Supercharged, mostly because it feels like the latter of those two had a bit more going for it in some points. Then High Vis with Guided Tour, then Japan George with Fate and Alcohol, and finally at the top Bo with Whiplash. But I was always going to listen to all of these yourself and give them a spin because that's what makes this shit that we do kind of interesting. Favourite album cover, I think has to go to The Offspring with Supercharged. I just really kind of like how it looks, just a skeleton sort of being zapped. Looks decent. Also, like the shade of blue that they use. I don't know. And favorite song goes to "Worry" from Whiplash by Boa. Just really good pacing, and Jasmine Rogers' vocal delivery on it is absolutely mesmerizing. Honestly, really good themes too. Really like that song. And that should do it. I will see you all tomorrow night for more of my EFED thing that I do sometimes. More PPW versus AVW, the whole show. And then, oh god, I can't believe it's only 2 weeks until Defy the Gods. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. But I'll see you all for that. And then maybe more Quake 2 possibly over the weekend. Although I might do some after this video's up. We'll see. But as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.